Hi there. So today, I wanted to actually review kind of a reposting of a segment of a video from Chief Midegah. And why I wanted to review it today is I feel like people have used this to make accusations that are not, I don't feel like are entirely fair accusations against him. And so I kind of want to step through this. I'm going to pause it at a few spots and maybe offer my thoughts. Uh, it is perhaps a little rough sounding, but there is stuff that happens that describing it will be rough. So I'm going to hit play, and we'll see how this goes.
The reason I was upset, really upset, and I have the right to be, is I got told I can't wear my ribbon shirt or my vest to church anymore because it's a distraction, and I have to follow the obedience of the brethren and put on my white shirt and tie. Oh, and I'll face a disciplinary council if I say anymore that we're releasing our mid-due scrolls, because you have to have authority to release scripture. We are the midday we win.
Okay, so right out of the gate, we've got two things. Um, his ribbon shirt, I think it's fine. I'm assuming he's talking about what I've seen him wearing in a lot of his videos. But I find it interesting because people are jumping in, even saying that nobody told him that. No, I've met people in our church. I can believe that there would have been someone somewhere that told him that and made it even sound like a worthiness issue. We have Pharisees of that variety in our church, and it happens. And I tell you, there are people who leave like that. That approach is part of what helps make ex-Mormons. So, and I've heard from plenty of them. It's one thing if one person complains about it. It's another thing if only two people are complaining about it. But there gets to be enough complaints that there might be actually a problem that we should investigate in ourselves to see whether or not we are making too much of the clothes and not enough of the heart. But it's easy to measure clothes. So the other thing that he brought up was being told not to say they're going to be releasing their scrolls. Now I have heard assertions that he was demanding that they be added to the standard works. As far as I'm concerned, our standard works maybe through the correlation process maybe are running into the same problem that the scriptures did around Lehi's time, where people were picking what was true and what wasn't true and making sure that the things they disagreed with didn't make the cut. That's a different problem. I'm going to let him describe just a little bit more what he's talking about real quick.
Of the Oseti Sakawan, that we're releasing our mid-due scrolls, because you have to have authority to release scripture. We are the midday we win. Of the Oseti Sakawan and Anishinaabe Algonquin. And we have birch bark scrolls that are recorded way, way earlier than the 1820s. And if that's where the line's going to be drawn, it's going to be a real difficult pull. It's going to be a real difficult pull for the brethren in the church when they find out what that means. So I'm taking a couple months.
Okay, so just this idea, it's interesting, hearing the description of this idea that someone would tell him that they can't release information. Once again, I wasn't in any conversations having to do with this directly. But it's interesting to hear the way he describes it. It's also interesting to remember just how correlation in the church works. I have opined in the past that correlation has done a good job of making sure that everything fits together in a neat package, and everything that doesn't fit just kind of gets left out. But in trying to distill the gospel, we may have boiled out what made it alive. But that being said, in this case, I don't think we should put that much stock in exactly what list the really constitutes the standard works. And the reason why I say that is there is really profitable stuff out there in the Apocrypha. There is really profitable stuff out there outside of the LDS standard works. And if you're trying to make your entire relationship with God out of what shows up in the LDS standard works, you're probably going to not have enough. In the Doctrine and Covenants, it refers to seeking out the best books. Well, there are plenty of books that are among those best books that we really should be considering. And so I'm going to say that it's not that big of a deal if the Birch Bark Scrolls don't make it into the standard works, because I don't think we should be putting that much stock in the boundaries of what's in and what's out of the standard works. That's a very Deuteronomist thing to really get stuck on. And it's, I don't know, I think it's worth thinking about. But I want to move on and let him share the rest of this portion of his message.
Months break from these LDS people and making a decision if that's a part of my family that I'm gonna, I love my family, but if I can't wear my ribbon shirt and my vest because it's a distraction, and I can't say that we were releasing scrolls.
Okay, once again, I'm not saying that he is announcing that he is becoming an ex-Mormon, right? Please don't put those words in my mouth. But this is how ex-Mormons are made. This is the sort of thing that we in the church do. And we, people who have left the church, you hear people talking about their religious trauma. When you are mixing the things that people make meaning out of and find peace in with other things where you're using authority and using that framework as a cudgel to beat someone over the head with if they're not acting right, there is a mismatch there. And Midega here, he speaks of the great peacemaker. And when he and others speak of the peacemaker, they are words that feed the soul. Or at least they feed my soul, for what it's worth. And he never describes anyone who's going to show up and tell you that you're wearing the wrong shirt. And he never describes anyone who's going to show up and tell you that your book is just a little bit wrong, so you need to stop reading it. But it's unfortunate because, what I see many LDS people doing with the, if it's not in the standard works, it's not official. We're doing the same closed canon trick that we are, we kind of sneer at the other Christians about when, they reject the Book of Mormon. We can't have it both ways. We really can't. If someone with no real ties to the authority structure comes out with a book, they're fulfilling really the Samuel the Lamanite pattern. They're fulfilling the pattern of the landlord who sends his servants and then eventually sends his son, and the tenants end up killing his son, as is discussed in Matthew. Like, we need to be careful to not reject messengers outright without at least examining what message they're bringing. And just because it didn't come from our proper priesthood authorities doesn't mean that it's not a message that we maybe should be paying attention to.
Because new scripture has to come through the church elders? We are the midday we win. We are the keepers of the scrolls. Who are you? Who are you? We're recorded as first presenting these things in the 1640s to the Jesuits, and you're going to go and say these things to me. I'm an Oshka Be Wis. If you don't know what that is, it's not my problem.
So there it is. I think that's pretty much all I have to say on that topic. I may have gone a little far out in my descriptions, but all the same, before we throw something away, we at least need to look at it. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what else to say, but really, I would encourage everyone to keep an open mind, and let's see what happens after September when everyone gets together and everyone goes over what scrolls they have, because that could be a very, very interesting thing for us to pay attention to. And it wouldn't surprise me if the release of the Dead Sea Scrolls pales in comparison.